Bible in a year. The Message version, February 25. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 29 through chapter 18, verse 30. This is a standard practice for you, a perpetual ordinance. On the 10th day of the 7th month, both the citizen and the foreigner living with you are to enter into a solemn fast and refrain from all work, because on this day atonement will be made for you to cleanse you. In the presence of God, you will be made clean of all your sins. It is Sabbath of all Sabbaths. You must fast. It is a perpetual ordinance. The priest who is anointed and ordained to succeed his father is to make the atonement. He puts on the sacred linen garments. He purges the Holy of Holies by making atonement. He purges the tent of meeting and the altar by making atonement. He makes atonement for the priests and all the congregation. This is a perpetual ordinance for you. Once a year, atonement is to be made for all the sins of the people of Israel, and Aaron did it just as God commanded Moses. God spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and all the Israelites. Tell them, this is what God commands. Any and every man who slaughters an ox or lamb or goat inside or outside the camp, instead of bringing it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to offer it to God in front of the dwelling of God, that man is considered guilty of bloodshed. He has shed blood and must be cut off from his people. This is so the Israelites will bring to God the sacrifices that they're in the habit of sacrificing out in the open fields. They must bring them to God and the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting and sacrifice them as peace offerings to God. The priest will splash the blood on the altar of God at the entrance to the tent of meeting and burn the fat as a pleasing fragrance to God. They must no longer offer their sacrifices to goat demons, a kind of religious orgy. This is a perpetual decree down through the generations. Tell them, any Israelite or foreigner living among them who offers a whole burnt offering or peace offering but doesn't bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to sacrifice it to God, that person must be cut off from his people. If any Israelite or foreigner living among them eats blood, I will disown that person and cut him off from his people. For a life of an animal is in the blood. I have provided the blood for you to make atonement for your lives on the altar. It is the blood, the life, that makes atonement. That's why I tell the people of Israel, don't eat blood. The same goes for the foreigner who lives among you. Don't eat blood. Any and every Israelite, this also goes for the foreigner, who hunts down any animal or bird that is edible, must bleed it and cover the blood with dirt, because the life of every animal is its blood. The blood is its life. That's why I tell the Israelites, don't eat the blood of any animal, because the life of every animal is its blood. Anyone who eats the blood must be cut off. Anyone, whether native or foreigner, who eats from an animal that is found dead or mauled must wash his clothes and bathe in water. He remains unclean until evening, as is then clean. If he doesn't wash or bathe his body, he'll be held responsible for his actions. God spoke to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel. Tell them, I am God, your God. Don't live like the people of Egypt, where you used to live, and don't live like the people of Canaan, where I'm bringing you. Don't do what they do. Obey my laws and live by my decrees. I am your God. Keep my decrees and laws. The person who obeys them lives by them. I am God. Don't have sex with a close relative. I am God. Don't violate your father by having sex with your mother. She is your mother. Don't have sex with her. Don't have sex with your father's wife. That violates your father. Don't have sex with your sister, whether she's your father's daughter or your mother's, whether she was born in the same house or elsewhere. Don't have sex with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. That would violate your own body. Don't have sex with the daughter of your father's wife, born to your father. She is your sister. Don't have sex with your father's sister. She is your aunt, closely related to your father. Don't have sex with your mother's sister. She is your aunt, closely related to your mother. Don't violate your father's brother, your uncle, by having sex with his wife. She is your aunt. Don't have sex with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. Don't have sex with her. Don't have sex with your brother's wife. That would violate your brother. Don't have sex with both a woman and her daughter. And don't have sex with her granddaughters either. They are her close relatives. That is wicked. Don't marry your wife's sister as a rival wife and have sex with her while your wife is living. Don't have sex with a woman during the time of her menstrual period when she is unclean. Don't have sex with your neighbor's wife and violate yourself by her. Don't give any of your children to be burned in sacrifice to the god of Molech, an act of sheer blasphemy of your God. I am God. Don't have sex with a man as one does with a woman. That is abhorrent. Don't have sex with an animal and violate yourself by it. A woman must not have sex with an animal. That is perverse. Don't pollute yourself in any of these ways. This is how the nations became polluted, the ones that I am going to drive out of the land before you. Even the land itself became polluted, and I punished it for its iniquities. The land vomited up its inhabitants. You must keep my decrees and laws, natives and foreigners both. You must not do any of these abhorrent things. The people who lived in this land before you arrived did all of these things and polluted the land. And if you pollute it, the land will vomit you up just as it vomited up the nations that preceded you. Those who do any of these abhorrent things will be cut off from their people. Keep to what I tell you. Don't engage in any of the abhorrent acts that were practiced before you came. Don't pollute yourselves with them. I am God, your God. Mark chapter 7, verse 24 through chapter 8, verse 10. From there, Jesus set out for the vicinity of Tyre. He entered a house there where he didn't think he would be found. But he couldn't escape notice. He was barely inside when a woman who had a disturbed daughter heard where he was. She came and knelt at his feet, begging for help. The woman was Greek, Syro-Phoenician by birth. She asked him to cure her daughter. He said, "Stand in line and take your turn. The children get fed first. If there's anything left over, the dogs get it." She said, "Of course, master, but don't dogs under the table get scraps dropped by the children?" Jesus was impressed. "You're right. On your way. Your daughter is no longer disturbed. The demonic affliction is gone." She went home and found her daughter relaxed on the bed, the torment gone for good. Then he left the region of Tyre, went through Sidon back to Galilee, Lake over to district of 10 towns. Some people brought a man who could neither hear nor speak and asked Jesus to lay a healing hand on him. He took the man off by himself, put his fingers in the man's ears, and some spit on the man's tongue. Then Jesus looked up in prayer, groaned mightily, and commanded, Epiphata, Epiphatha, open up. And it happened. The man hearing was clear, and his speech plain, just like that. Jesus urged them to keep it quiet, but they talked it up all the more, beside themselves with excitement. He's done it all, and done it well. He gives hearing to the deaf, speech to the speechless. At about this same time, he again found himself with a hungry crowd at his hands. He called his disciples together and said, This crowd is breaking my heart. They have stuck with me for 3 days, and now they have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they'll faint along the way. Some of them have come a long distance. His disciples responded, What do you expect us to do about it? Buy food out here in the desert? He asked. How much bread do you have? 7 loaves, they said. So Jesus told the crowd to sit down on the ground. After giving thanks, he took the 7 bread loaves, broke them into pieces, and gave them to his disciples so they could hand them out to the crowd. They also had a few fish. He pronounced a blessing over the fish and told his disciples to hand them out as well. The crowd ate its fill. 7 sacks of leftovers were collected. There were well over 4,000 at the meal. Then he sent them home. He himself went straight to the boat with his disciples and set out for Dalmanutha. Psalm chapter 41, verse 1 through 13. A David Psalm. Dignify those who are down on their luck. You'll feel good. That's what God does. God looks after us all, makes us robust with life, lucky to be in the land. We're free from enemy worries. Whether we're sick and in bed, God becomes our nurse, nurses us back to health. I said, God, be gracious. Put me together again. My sins have torn me to pieces. My enemies are wishing the worst for me. They make bets on what my day I die. If someone comes to see me, he mouths empty platitudes, all the while gathering gossip about me to entertain the street corner crowd. These friends who hate me whisper slanders all over town. They form committees to plan misery for me. The rumor goes out, he's got some dirty, deadly disease. The doctors have given up on him. Even my best friend, the one I always told everything, he ate meals at my house all the time, has bitten my hand. God, give grace. Get me up on my feet. I'll show them a thing or two. Meanwhile, I'm sure you're on my side. No victory shouts yet from the enemy camp. You know me inside and out. You hold me together. You never fail to stand me tall in your presence, so I can look you in the eye. Blessed is God, Israel's God, always, always, always. Yes, yes, yes. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 15 and 16. The wealth of the rich is their security. The poverty of the indignant is their ruin. The wage of a good person is exuberant life. An evil person ends up with nothing but sin. This was the reading for February 25th.